Hey, yep, we're on a roll. So thanks again for coming here tonight, taking time out of your schedules. We have the webinar for Mysteries of the Library Revealed, subject-specific resources. And there are two of us here tonight presenting. My name is Tracy Ave Hector, and I'm a reference librarian here at Walden. And with me here is Julie James, who is the liaison librarian for nursing and health sciences. So we just want to do a bit of housekeeping, especially for those of you who may not be attending too many library webinars or attending for the first time. As a webinar attendee, remember that you can click on the orange arrow to expand. It's like a toolbox, and it has some behind-the-scenes features that you might find helpful. One feature is the handout section, which actually contains the slide deck for the current webinar. And below that, you should see the questions feature, and that's sort of like a chat box. So we'll address your questions towards the end for the most part, I think. But please type those questions in as you think of them. You know, don't wait to type them in there. We do have a lot of people that are registered for today's webinar. So for any questions that we don't get to, or if you have anything that isn't really related to what we're talking about, please don't forget to use our Ask Librarian service. It's linked right at the top of the library homepage. And we also have the closed captioning link in that questions box. So closed captioning, it's available right now. There's the web link shown on your screen and in that questions box. And the recording link for this webinar will be emailed to you within 1 to 2 days or less. Usually less. Now, we just wanted to touch on the Mysteries webinar series a bit. So some of you may not even realize that the Mysteries of the Library Revealed it's not just kind of something that repeats and you might notice it every now and then in the upcoming webinars list. It's actually an ongoing webinar series that is presented on the third Monday of every month at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so library staff present just on various topics. So for today, the focus is on subject-specific resources. And next month, you can check out the Mysteries webinar for reference and background resources. So with that, let's go ahead and move to our objectives. Okay, so here are our objectives for this webinar. These are the 4 primary things that we really want you to leave this session with. Our goal is that at the session's end, you'll understand how to locate good topical resources using the Walden Library Subject Research Homes, the Walden Library's database collections, Google Scholar, link through Walden, which is something we'll show you. It's a really important way of using Google Scholar, but ensuring that you have the resources available through Walden, accessible through Google Scholar, and internet search engines. So I'm going to go ahead and tackle the first 2 objectives. Julie's going to cover the last 2. So let's take a look at the first, the library's subject research homes. Okay, so I'm gonna actually take you to our website to show you both of these live, but first I wanted to just stand back a bit to give you sort of a broader picture view of what we're going to be looking at. So first, the subject research homes will be our first destination, but here's where the travel actually begins. So when you're on the Walden Library's homepage, you'll actually see a subject resources box in the upper left section of the page. And I'll tell you right now, that's the best place students can go. When you're starting research on a particular topic, or if you're doing a paper in your field and you don't even know what to look for, just go to this box and select the appropriate subject from that list. So when you click on select a subject from the library homepage, you get to choose from the major Walden program subjects and then see the resources that are recommended for that subject. And below this box highlighted here in red are several buttons, and one of them is the databases A through Z button, and that's by clicking on this, it'll take you to a full list of databases, resources that can be filtered by type, database type, by the vendor who's publishing that database. You can look up subjects, see all those that pertain to databases that pertain to business, that pertain to nursing, search by keyword, or even the first letter of the database if it's something you're told to look to use a specific resource. So what we're going to do is get out of the PowerPoint and go right into a demo. Okay, so here's the library homepage, and we showed you in the PowerPoint that the subject resources box will be in the upper left, and we'll have select a subject. So let's say I'm a psychology student and I'm starting a new project. Well, when I click on this, I can just click on psychology, and this action will take me to the library research homepage for that subject. And this is the research home for psychology. Now remember that every research home, there's one for all of those fields shown in that previous screen. And every research home has a primary search box like this at the top. That box will always be set to search usually a handful of databases in a particular subject area, or just that students might find especially helpful when researching in in your field. So I could just type in a topic right into this box to get to search a curated list of databases specifically helpful for psychology research. So I can also scroll down a bit and go into the individual databases. So if I expand any of these sections, I'm going to get different resources that are recommended, resource types, but also the focus. So if I wanted databases that are focused on, for example, tests and measures, we could look at psychology video collections, tests and instruments for assessment, theories, statistics, upcoming psychology webinars. So no matter which subject area you choose on that library homepage, your research home will be customized to list resources that were hand selected because of their value for research in that field. So it's a really, really good place to look for a particular subject because it's going to be customized to that field. So let's go back to the previous page. Remember, this is the library homepage, and our next option to look at is databases A through Z. And if we click on databases A through Z, this will show us a full list. This is actually containing a full list of the databases and other resources that students have found especially helpful within our programs and research in our programs. And so you could see across in the gray box across the top, you could see that this list of databases can be filtered in different ways. So we can narrow by subject. We can go into, psychology or education. We can go into the database type. If we wanted to see all video databases, vendor would be, if we wanted to see EBSCO databases, ProQuest, or if you happen to know which vendor that you wanted to stick with, keyword search, you could type right in here, or if you could just, if you knew you wanted to go to a specific database, you can click on that letter. So, for example, I can come here as a psychology student and choose psychology from the list. And then, where is it? Right there. And then see all of the databases just by clicking on that, that are available and maybe recommended for psychology. So you could see Sage Journals is one that isn't only psychology. Like PsycInfo is, largely focused on those related areas, while Sage Journals happens to be something that is particularly helpful for psychology students. So this is always a good place to check for resources. But one option on this page that really students often overlook is the multidisciplinary option. So if I come here, and I'm actually going to go back, let's see, all. If I scroll under all subjects, for a fresh start. Now, let's say instead of choosing a subject, I chose multidisciplinary, then I'm going to see a number of resources that really aren't specific to a subject, but just like the SAGE journals, they contain an incredible amount of information that would benefit your subject-specific searches. And that's really important. You don't want to miss on those potential sources. So let's scroll down to the A's, and we're going to choose the AARP State Data Center. This is actually a really cool resource. So I should have right-clicked, but that's okay. We'll go there directly. Okay, so this is the AARP resource, and they call this the Data Explorer landing page. So we're going to click on Data by Topic over here on the left, and you can see the breadth of coverage within just this one repository. So for example, demographics here on the far left is going to have basic statistics that align with multiple fields. And remember, each of these resources is going to tell you exactly where the data is coming from, and it'll often give you, if that's an open source data set, it'll give you a link to that information or exactly where to get it. So a lot of things that you don't want to miss by not looking at this kind of information. So then you have other topics. You have health next, along with the long-term services and caregiving. That's all the way on the right. So both health and this last one, both of those would be worth exploring if you're researching health sciences or nursing topics. Housing and transportation in the middle would be great for students in social work, human services, public policy and administration. Um, and of course, income, employment, and assets would be really good for business, public policy, and really all of these. You could use any of these in pretty much any Walden program, depending on your field or whatever topic you're researching. So let's just take a look at one of these. We'll look at the income, employment, and assets. And if you click on Expand All on the right-hand side, it'll expand all of those sections, and you can really get a good idea of just how comprehensive this stuff really is. It really covers a lot of information. So I'm just scrolling down here so you can see. Okay, so as you can see, it's just this is something that's really overlooked, to be honest. Just some of these resources that really do have just a ton of collated data, good for topical research. So let's go back to our multidisciplinary list on the databases A through Z page, and we're going to choose another one under C, Child Stats. I'll open that in a new tab. Okay, so for our last example, well, with this one, let's say I wish I could have a barbecue or something with the web designers, because this site really isn't as user-friendly as far as being able to choose a topic or some broader field in the same way that we were. But this is a huge repository. I try to overlook the fact that there's not really quite the user friendliness or the browsable, clickable fields in some of the other resources, just because it has so much information that it's really worth checking just to see if it has something that's potentially applicable to what you're looking for. So despite that lack of browser-friendly links or icons, their search is pretty effective. So first, I just want to show you some of the ready-made information. The View the 2018 report. This is something just to give you an idea of some of the information, the subjects that may be covered. So we could see here, it covers child poverty, health insurance continuity, homelessness, prescription opioid. You're going into just a vast number of things. It's not just going into things that education. Those that are researching in the education field may find helpful. Or so there's really a ton here. So we're just going to do an example search for the word crime so that you can see how a very basic search really brings back results that you can pretty readily identify, for the most part, the kinds of content, the focus that the results might have. So, for example, we could see the victims of youth victims of crimes, youth perpetrators of crimes. So they do a really good job of indexing this pretty well, and even the search results to organize them. So you can see if it's going to have something on your topic that might help you. So definitely, if children or youth are among your populations of interest, I really do recommend that you look in here in case there's something valuable that didn't come up in other resources or other searches. So for our last example on the multidisciplinary page, I just want to look at the best bets at the top. These just list resources that students have found especially helpful, and we're going to take a peek at EBSCO ebooks. That's one of the best bets. Now, when you go to EBSCO ebooks, a lot of people, including me sometimes, I tend to forget this, will kind of stop here and then just do the search like usual. Just remember that that this is a little bit different than the other database pages, even though it looks just like a lot of the other database pages under EBSCO anyway. And so if you scroll down on the EBSCO ebooks page, uh, you can see that it's a little bit different. You get a little bit more information. Um, you'll see a number of subject categories over here on the left, like health and medicine, political science, psychology, others. Yeah, there's a featured ebook section on the right that is pretty interesting. Here, featured ebooks topic is education. So just different resources that may be highlighted. You could take a look at the kinds of things that might be under a current event. Sometimes they'll come in here, and for the health and medicine, they'll put things on something like study of viruses, or a book on viruses if there's a particular virus that happens to be making the current news round. So just something that is worth checking. And of course, we could go up and do a regular search and find books that way on your subject. So I can come up here and I'll just put in social work, put it in quotation marks to tell the database I want to look for that exact phrase. And I have a large number of books that might be helpful for me. So it's really important to remember, as students, you're often so focused, and often having to be focused on finding those peer-reviewed journal articles and such, that it's sometimes a little bit easy to forget that the kinds of background information, especially that you might find in ebooks, that kind of introductory, bigger picture sort of thing, can be so useful in those, like, for example, introduction sections of your papers and other areas of your scholarly work. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Julie.
Thanks, Tracy. That is a great point about books. We overlook them too often these days, and having that broad knowledge in the background of the topic that you're writing on can be really, really useful. So I do encourage that as well. Thank you for my lovely dog compliment there. That is Tater, and he's going to try to be quiet during the next few minutes. I brought up Google, and I just put in GED statistics just to give you an idea. Everybody knows about Google. We use Google for specific things all the time, but it's not encouraged in coursework because there's just so many hits. For instance, the first one is pretty good and is a government site with statistics about the high school dropout, but then it gets into some things that want to sell you a GED prep. They want to they're companies that are trying to make money. So you got to be careful about that when you are hitting Google for something. Now, Google is not the only internet search engine. Every once in a while, I will go see what Bing has to say about it. And Bing put two advertisements up top, but then does get into some more, gets into BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and the .gov site. The .gov is the United States government, and you can actually limit either in Bing or in Google to a particular site. If you put site .gov, it will limit the results to government websites. And this is the Department of Education, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, etc. And if you've never looked at, hardly anybody probably looks at the search help in Google, but it does have some advanced search things that can be really helpful in and I don't know where it went. So if you put in, for instance, you want to put in site, for instance, you want to search a particular site. Um, and I did this earlier. There we go. How to search on Google, and then start with the basics, but then they come down to the advanced search and search operators. And learning some of these advanced terms and functions in Google can be really helpful. If you haven't noticed, it does also have some help right there at the beginning under settings and tools. So the tools will show that you can say, I only want sites that were updated in the past year. For the results, you can limit things that way too. But the limiting by time is really useful in Google and in Bing. Now, if we did the same thing in Google Scholar, it's going to bring up some articles because Google Scholar is primarily articles, right? Well, it's also got a book in here, and this book might be useful to your topic. So if you see book in brackets like that, know that that is an entire book that's posted in PDF here, and it may be worth browsing that way. There are also lots and lots of special things you can do with Google Scholar, one of which is connect your Walden Library to Google Scholar. And so the easiest way to do that is through our quick answers page. From any of our libraries' homepage, we have, and let me get my panel out of the way. Up here in our Get Help, we have so many wonderful things for you, including recorded webinars, library skills guides, our Ask a Librarian, but this is also where you can find how to link your Google Scholar to Walden Library. Is there a way to automatically connect the Walden Library to Google Scholar? And yes, there is. And this is just so easy to do really quickly, and we'll start showing you these find at Walden links when you are searching for an article in Google Scholar, or if you are doing citation chaining, it will also show you the find at Walden links so that you are more likely to be able to get to full text immediately there. Now you do have to link each of your computers to Walden unless you sign in to Google and with a Google account. And different browsers. So if you have a backup browser, and I always recommend that you have a backup browser. If you use Chrome primarily, have Firefox, and link them both to Google Scholar so that you're sure that you have a way for that. Another thing that I wanted to mention was Google Dataset search. This is a new thing. It's part of Google, and if you just Google Dataset search, it's the easiest way to find it because the address is toolbox.google.com/data search, which I can never remember, but it is looking for data sets specifically, and that is more often going to be used in a PhD program, but it is helpful to know that that is available. Okay, now do we have any questions about any of these lovely things we have showed you so far? We do
Okay.
have a little recap. Okay.
We have, I get confused looking at scholarly peer reviews in mental health counseling. Let's see, I'm pulling that out to see if I'm missing half the question. I might be.
Okay. We do, one of the things that I was showing you under our Ask a Librarian over here, let's go back to the library homepage. We have the Ask a Librarian linked right here on the library homepage and under Get Help. If you go to Ask a Librarian and you have a particular question, probably the best way to submit that is through email. And then we work through the email queue several times a day, depending on who's working which shifts. And you will get that answered. It says within 24 hours, but it's usually much more quick than that. And you can copy and paste your entire question, what you've done so far, things like that. If it's a quick question that isn't going to take a real long involved, you can get on the chat. Chat is live now. Lynn is the only one working chat. So if all 100 of you go hit her at once, she's going to be mad at us. So please don't do that. But chat is a great way to get a quick question like, I can't find how to link my Google Scholar to Walden Library. And we can help you find a link for that. One other thing that I've been using a lot recently, whether it be from Get Help, Ask a Librarian, or anything else, a tip that I love to share here is all the way at the bottom of the page. These are all the other things that are other departments that are here to help you, including the Writing Center, Academic Skills Center, things like that. And they are at the bottom of all of our web pages. So that is like quick access to see what else we can offer you in ways in help from various different departments. So Tracy showed you the subject research homes where you click select a subject from and then select the program that you're in. She also showed you databases A to Z where you can select your subject from there. We looked at Google Scholar and look, here is a link on how to link the Walden Library to Google Scholar. So if you pull this up, pull up the PDF in the handouts, that should get you there. And then be aware of the internet search engines, not just as a general search, but what their advanced features might be and how they might work better for you. And then as always, ask for help. If you're stuck, if you're spending hours looking for an article and you just can't get started, reach out to us and we will do our best to help you. Are there any more questions there, Tracy? Let's see. Okay. All right, well, Get Help is my favorite page on the site. And remember, this Quick Answers doesn't have just library stuff. It has all kinds of things from the Writing Center, Academic Skills Center. There's statistics tutoring. Statistics is the thing that's bringing you down. And then we have technical help up here. If you're having trouble with PDFs, that would be a great place to go. Yes, Tracy?
Yeah, I think I might have just hit mute on my second. I had two mute buttons.
Oh, no.
Sorry about that. Someone asked, and the person asking about the scholarly peer reviews, she restated the question. Because I wasn't sure if I missed part of that. So the Ask Librarian is really going to help you the most. But if you can hang around a bit, I'll also send you a quick guide link that may help with that. But another question we have is how else can we specify in Google using the colon feature? And I'll just say, something that Julie had talked about earlier when you're limiting to, like government websites, you can do edu or org, for
Mhm.
limiting to those that might be research. You can do file type even. I do that myself, file type PDF, because sometimes,
There is a giant page of these helps.
yeah,
If I
there is.
could find it, I have one.
Google it, and it's a great thing
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. Really, really,
yeah. Get
really
in
helpful.
here with your do more with search. Will really, I mean, you can use it as a calculator. You can use it as a time converter. It's the advanced search features under here are really cool, and they're really evolving a lot of advanced searches for images too, which is interesting. But the advanced search for websites looks like this, where you say, I want all of these words to be included. It gives you hints where if you put it in quotes, like what Tracy was showing earlier, to glue those two words together so it only finds it as a phrase. So these are a lot of helpful hints up here, and then you can limit it this way as well. Through the file type. I frequently will do this file type. I'll actually put .pdf in my search if I know I'm looking for something that will be in a PDF format. Does that answer the question? Okay, well, we are about out of time. I know I'm going to tell you about our next Mysteries of the Library next month on Monday, August 19th at 8:30 p.m. We'll talk about reference and background resources. So really get into more things to look up individual facts and to find background resources for your discussion posts and things like that. Um, in the meantime, please do hit our Ask a Librarian, hit our Get Help page, see what kind of recorded videos, webinars, other things that might help you with this journey that you're on, and do ask for help when you get stuck because we are here to help you succeed. Thanks, everyone. There any more questions that we can answer while we're still here?
I was looking through them, and I don't think there's any. I answered a couple on the side. I'm still pulling that peer review. I'm going to put that in the chat link for that one person. The rest of you,
Okay.
ask a librarian. Ask a
All
librarian.
right. Thanks,
Happy
everyone.
help.
We appreciate you coming out to see us tonight.
Thank you.